What's up, everybody? Last day of the show today, which means only the legends are left. And I'm here with Jason from CCI. He is their director of all their rimfire stuff at CCI. They have a really interesting new one.
This is not a paid endorsement, but I am a brand ambassador for Heckler and Koch for a reason. HK firearms are incredibly high quality, and when it's time to step up out of the entry tier, they're the only ones I recommend. You carry a gun just in case. Shouldn't it be an HK just in case?
Now, I mean, every Midwest kid in America has shot tens of thousands of rounds out of bricks of 22, 40 grain, 22. But this stuff is different, man.
Yeah, this is a first truly jacketed. We build it with the exact same technology we do gold dot. So what you will get is a perfect mushroom every time out of a gun between 2.5 and 4 inch barrel, because that's what the majority of.
Yeah.
And you will get 9.5 to 10 inches penetration in calibrated ballistic shell every time.
9.5 to 10 inches of penetration out of 22 long rifle. Now, I know people are, and if you're smart about ballistic shell and you go, but wait a minute, we'd rather have 12 to 18. Yeah, you would.
Yeah,
and so is the 22 long rifle, even something really good, going to be my first choice? Well, I think sometimes you say, I would recommend more, but some people can't handle more.
I mean, my father is a prime example of this. Before he passed away, he had really bad arthritis. Mm-hmm. The only thing he can operate was a little 22 Bobcat that he carried with him until the day he died.
Right.
And some people, that is their option, as well as especially new shooters that went out and they bought a 22 for the first time. They bought one of those 22 45s, and that is what their firearm is they have at home.
Yeah.
So our goal was to make that a relative firearm. If that is what you choose to be your carry platform, I am not telling you this is the most lethal thing on earth, but I am telling you this is the best 22 on earth to do that with.
So I think there's an important distinction here, okay? So my job as a firearms instructor, my job as a use of force expert is to say, here's the kind of things that I would recommend and those things. You guys make ammunition. Your job is to say, hey, if that was your choice, can I make this the best for you and make it effective? And I think that's valuable. I mean, again, that guy who got, one of the new little Glock 22s, and that's what they've got in the house.
Yep.
And now this is 2.5 to 4 inches. Did you guys test this at all in longer barrels?
Yes, we have. What you'll get is a higher velocity.
Yep.
Out of a 4-inch barrel, you get 950 feet per second. You run this out of a 6-inch barrel, you're going to get over 1,000 feet per second. Okay. So what that's going to give you is a bigger mushroom,
a little more
faster,
expansion, little less
more
penetration.
Exactly. If you shoot it out of a rifle, it'll go 1,400 feet per second. If I shot it at 21 feet, it's going to be a little smaller than a dime, almost 100% weight retention.
Wow.
But you're only going to go about 7 inches.
Right.
If you shoot it at 100 yards out of a rifle, your now velocities are about the same as what they are out of a 22 at 21 feet, and you're getting 10 inches of penetration with that mushroom.
And now remember, everybody, so one of the things that we talk about why 12 to 18 inches, it's not you want to go 12 to 18 inches in a human body. That's an analog, because we're talking about, somebody's got a gun pointed at you, that bullet went through their forearm, out their forearm, into the body, goes through some ribs, and into something squishy and important.
Correct.
And that's what we're trying to do there. But again, now, if I were to do something like, okay, so I've had elderly families that I've done, hey man, we're gonna load a magazine in your Ruger 1022 with a little, red dot optic on it, and if you got to hunker down in the bedroom and you just fill some guy in with angry bees who breaks down your bedroom door, I'm not gonna be mad at this.
No, this is gonna be the best angry bee you've ever launched.
Yeah. And again, man, you get great expansion on this. So I love this for those niche cases. Somebody who is using an LCR in 22 because they just can't handle recoil. Those kind of things. That's a use case.
Well, and we just sent a lot of this. Plinkster and Todd Jarrett were huge and instrumental in helping us develop this product. And we sent them that, and they were testing it. I mean, if you look at one of Plinkster's new videos, he shoots through two 2x4 stacked together with this, and it penetrates through both. I mean, the technology we used in this is, like I said, it's the exact same technology we use in our duty ammo with Spear. So, I mean, it's the best, one of the best arguably duty ammos available is also now incorporated into a box that costs $12.99.
$12.99 for that?
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's pretty good, man. I mean, it's like a little mini gold dot.
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys have heard me say 100 times, like, if you're carrying a service caliber and you're not carrying either gold dots or HSTs in it defensively, why?
Right.
What are you doing? So this is cool, man. Thanks so much,
Hey,
Jason.
no problem, sir.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
for your
it.
time.
Now we're with Chris Locke here, who is the centerfire guy in the defensive cartridges. All handgun stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, you guys know, I've said this 100 times. If you're carrying a handgun for defensive purposes and you're not loading it with either HSTs or gold dots, why? Now, there are some reasons why you might say something else, but as a default, like, that's what you should be carrying. And you guys have probably done everything you can do to 9, 40, 45. That's probably done.
Yeah, there's some room for some technologies, but it's going to be based on specific requirements, right? So it's when you look at the requirements and you pull the different levers and you weigh the pros and cons, because you want to barrier blind round, you're giving up something else. It's finding that right spot, right? But for personal defense, it's still that 147 grain HST 9mm. It's what I carry.
Standard pressure 147.
I shoot everything.
Yep.
I shoot everything and compare it, and it's still what I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
But I think a lot of people, not a lot, but there's a niche, just like we talked about for the 22 uppercut, that there's some smaller calibers that folks are thinking about.
Yeah, and that's the benefit now of having those leading products in kind of the more common cartridges. It's giving me time to look at all the other, like, what is everything everybody carries? What is the reason they carry it, and not as a manufacturer listening to them saying, tell me what gun, because obviously having the gun is the first thing, right?
Rule number one of gunfighting.
Yeah.
Have a gun.
Yeah, so we run into a lot of that. We did with the 22 punch when we first came out with it. Well, why would you tell people it's okay to use a 22 for defense? Well, because that's what they've got, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
As a manufacturer, our job is to make the best rock to throw out of it, right? So that's what we're trying to focus on now. We know enough about bullet technology now that we can make the best round for every cartridge. And HydroShock Deep, that's in 380 and 38 Special plus P. HydroShock Deep lends itself well to that.
Yeah.
If I've got a little more energy to work with and I can get good upset size and good penetration depth, I'm going to work on the HST bullet more.
Yeah.
If I've got something that just needs to be really well rounded, like 44 Special, we did it in punch. So we're just trying to make that best bullet for the best cartridge. And then this year we were focused on the mouse guns, right? Because it really changed things when we were looking at the 22s. So we started looking at 25 and 32 auto because I was getting a lot of requests for those.
Were you really?
Yeah, just,
I see grandmas running a little tip up, like Tomcat or something like that.
It's hard to run slides, it's a whole different group that just has been underserviced by something, and they're just using FMJs most of the time because there isn't a good solution. So in 32 auto, we were actually able to take that HydroShock Deep bullet design, and we did have enough energy to get around 10 and a quarter inches of penetration through clothing and getting decent upsets. So we cap how much upset so that we have enough energy left for penetration.
Penetration is, you've got to get to the vital organs.
Yeah, that's the key. And I know there's the 12 to 18 that the FBI recommends, and we do use that as a reference point.
Sure.
But understanding that that's not universal amongst everybody who does this, right?
Sure.
And a lot of law enforcement agencies.
In an ideal world.
Right. A lot of law enforcement agencities, if they see 10 to 12 and the bullet upset is significant, I'm good with that, right? So that we're focused on getting to 10. We got to 10. We're going from 312 diameter to 427 through clothing.
Through the heavy clothing test?
Through heavy clothing.
That's a pretty good result out of a small
32,
round.
Yeah.
32 round.
Yep.
And I mean, again, now I want to recognize that my 147 grain HSTs in 9mm are going to get 15 to 16 inches of penetration and be .65, .7.
6.7, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, preferable, but you got more energy to work with, so you can do those things.
Yep.
And so you can get the upset and the penetration.
Yep. Once you have that kind of in the equation, it's an important factor in bullet design is, I'm not interested in velocity for velocity's sake.
No.
I'm interested in what it contributes to the whole thing. I'm more interested in momentum and other parts that the velocity helps me create, right? It's the handgun world. Yeah. So 25 auto we looked at and went, there's not enough to work with here to get upset and penetration depth, so we did a solid. We did some nice, deep, penetrating solid, 12, 13 inches of penetration with a 25 auto repeatably every time through clothing. So at least with that little gun, you've got something that's gonna do the job.
I mean, that's old school wad cutters. You know what I mean? This is what a 38 was an old school wad cutter. And plenty of bad guys got stopped with wad cutters back in the day. Now, I mean, again, if you could, you'd rather have both. You'd rather have more. But physics is not a suggestion.
Right.
It's the law.
Yeah, physics and physiology are what we're working with, right?
Right.
Tissue stretch and everything else. So yeah, do as good as we can with all of it.
Now listen, you know, guys know that I'm probably not the biggest revolver guy out there, but starting to see the renaissance of the 327. I dig the 327.
Yeah, 327 is having a spectacular year this year.
Yeah.
And
you're talking a less felt recoil than a 357, but man, you get some great ballistics out of these bullets, man. You can really do some fun things.
We're really finding out too, there's a magic in that 312 diameter bullet. We found that with super carry too. It's just that it has that perfect amount of everything to make a really good defensive bullet. So we're seeing a lot of advantages of that in the 30 super carry design too. But now it allowed us, because actually that's how we leapfrogged. We had 327 out there. We worked on 30 super carry. We learned some new stuff about bullet design in the 312 diameter, and we're like, could we make a better like an HST in 327? And that's what helped us circle back to work on that bullet as well.
I want to say I asked Chris about this earlier, that I'd said, man, it felt like 30 super carry hasn't gotten over the hump yet, but you told me off camera it actually is selling better than 357 SIG did at its height.
In that first year, yeah. Yeah, and now it's stabilized, and it'll be kind of there until more guns come.
Right.
We fully expect more guns are going to come. We talked to the gun companies, and nobody has said we're not going to do it. It's more like, we're really busy. We got to figure out how this is going to fit in the schedule. There'll be more guns. We're going to fully support it, and part of what helps that is 327's having a great year. 32 H&R's having a great year for us, right? So it's kind of, I've got equipment
that size of bullet, and
I got less changeovers, right? So it allows me to keep supporting it. That cartridge, 30 Super Carry's not going anywhere. It's doing very well. I got to see some prototypes here at the show. It's some cool new stuff that's coming.
Cool.
The cartridge isn't going away. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's here it takes a while, right? It took a decade for Creedmoor to.
Yeah, to really kind of catch on.
Yeah, it takes a while for that stuff to happen. So I'm not worried about it. It's SAMI approved. Terminally, it's fantastic.
It really is.
So it's just kind of, now people can play with it. We'll see what happens.
And in my opinion, I mean, I'm not carrying a 30 super carry right now. I mean, you guys know I'm an HK guy. They don't make a 30 super carry right now. But the idea of, hey, wait a minute, my P30 is 17 plus 1 9mm. We make it in 30 super carry. I get the same ballistics, and instead I get 20 plus 1. Yes, please.
Probably 22, 23.
20. Yes, please. Yeah. I'm in, and that sounds like a winner. You know.
Yeah.
So. If we can get there, we would.
I know that the studies you do support that too, with what the caps at 6 and 10 rounds, and kind of the number of times people are running the gun until it's empty, right?
Yes.
Like more rounds, never a bad thing.
Never, but nobody ever finished a gunfight going, gosh, I had too much capacity in the gun.
Yeah, right.
Now, we've had enough people that said, gosh, I wish I had a little more capacity in the gun, and I know some people say, well, John, that's why you carry a reload. Never seen a private citizen use a reload in any capacity in a defensive gunfight. When your gun runs empty, your fight is over. And so, more chances, more better. So I love that idea. So, man, this is the stuff. Again, are there other options? There are. I don't have a relationship with Federal. Okay, they don't send me no money. They don't send me no bullets. I bought plenty of HSTs and plenty of flight-controlled buckshot. But this is good stuff. This is why I recommend it from this perspective. So now we're talking with Dan Compton, who is the shot shell director for Federal and the rest of the Vista family of ammo. I got an exciting one. Guys. Look, ready? That is 20 gauge flight control.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, something we've been looking at for quite a while, and we were talking a little bit before, kind of low-hanging fruit from us on a product development standpoint, but we just kind of kept pushing it, so we wanted to see when the time would be right. And we were approached by a couple gun manufacturers who were looking to try to expand 20 gauge and PD, and then even some tactical duty type use.
Really?
So, and we see the PD side, so lower recoil, lighter guns, quicker on target, and so on. And so, obviously, to extend 20 gauge, flight control into a buckshot and hunting platforms was a no-brainer. We started with. We're going number 2 buck, so you're getting 10 pellets of number 2 buck.
10 pellets of number 2 buck. Yep. Now remember, number 2 is not number 2 buck. Those are different pellets, right? So if you're not big into shotguns, remember, the shotgun numbering for pellets and gauge and all that stuff was like ancient British 14th century weird measurements, okay? So just deal with it. Number 2 buckshot. Number 2 buck is a great round.
We were pretty. I was pretty excited about it because the guys, I'm like bigger's better. I want double aught, and like, wow, it's not going to settle well in the shell. So I'm like, well, just give us the goal. Like we're looking at 12, 15 inches of penetration, and with the 2 buck, we're getting that all day long.
Nice.
So it's great.
Now I know. So okay, I'm a flight control double-aught number, 12 gauge guy, right? And so big things there. The flight control wad, incredibly important. The brass-plated buckshot, incredibly important, so that way it keeps its form.
Yep.
And the buffering, the Grex material, right?
Yes.
So are we buffering this as well?
We are, yes.
So we have the full federal flight
It's
control
got the full
around.
suite of technology.
And man, what kind of patterns are you seeing in this stuff?
We're seeing, we're trying to keep like extreme spreads, below, our goal is always 10, but it kind of grows a little bit more than that. We've shot it from everything from like little Mossberg shot weight defenders to full-length firearms, and we're kind of holding right around that, 10 to 14-inch extreme spread. So
at what distance?
At 25.
At 25, man, dude, if you're getting 10-inch spread at 25 yards, a 20-gauge shotgun as a 25-yard gun for defense, that's amazing. That's just fantastic. And still getting 12 to 15 inches of penetration.
So we shoot like, 7 feet, 21 feet, and then we always push it to 25 yards. It's kind of that, that deal.
Yeah.
So as your pellets get smaller, it does start to creep out.
Of course.
So they're going to start to give. So, but at your traditional home defense and personal defense ranges, it's pretty lights out.
Well, and okay, so I'm going to tell you, I haven't asked Dan this question. I'm just going to ask you, put you on the spot. That my load of choice is 12 gauge, 8 pellet, flight control double-aught buck.
Yeah.
Right? It has been unobtainium.
Oh, sure.
It is just, not findable, right? I recently saw somebody had one online, had 250 round boxes, and I told everybody, hey, snatch them up. There was a rumor that Federal has discontinued 8 pellet double-aught buck flight control.
Yes.
In 12 gauge. Is that true?
The yes is no, it is not true.
It is not true.
It's not. I heard the same rumor as well, and some of our law enforcement sales guys are like, "What the hell's going on, Dan?" And I'm like, "In no world did we discontinue any of the law enforcement buck products.
Okay.
We had the one buck that we did years ago, and then we ran into.
And people are looking for that stuff, man.
And kind of to talk to address that a little bit too. When we loaded it, we had like this lightning in a bottle, like 16 inches, holding this 10-inch extreme spread at 25 yards, and whatever we did, we've been unable to recreate that, and it's always kind of started creeping wider and wider and wider. So we've gone back to the drawing board on wad design, shot hardness, like everything we can throw at it. Some of the best, smartest guys we have, and we still haven't quite figured that out yet. So that's the only load that has come and gone.
Well, I mean, shotguns are all special snowflakes. I mean, no two shotgun barrels are the same.
Yeah.
And dude, when you're talking about number one, you're like, what, like 18 pellets or something of number
16.
one? 16 pellets of number one. You got 16 unique projectiles, and it's real easy to get one gets a little deformation, and it starts pushing some others, and it's just hard, man.
Yeah. So on the 8 pellet, just where we're at, we're still kind of riding this COVID wave of catching up. And we saw huge, commercial buckshot demand, law enforcement demand went through the roof as well, because I think everybody was stocking up and,
Well, and the shotgun is making a comeback.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The 12 gauge, I see this all the time, man. If I'm getting out of a patrol cruiser and I got to choose a long gun, I'm grabbing the shotgun.
Yeah. So we've been trying to chip away at it. We've made some changes internally on terms of some supply constraints, there's copper plating constraints, how many wads can we make? But we pretty much have a loader, at least for the back half of this year, running nonstop in either LA-127, LA-132, or LA-133 pellet.
Yep.
And the 8 pellet, if I'm remembering correctly, we caught most of our back orders as of this last fall.
Beautiful.
So you're hearing where I talked to the VanComp guys yesterday. Like, yeah, we saw some out. And I'm like, yeah, so
hey, look, we're actually getting into the
So we
market.
still got a ways to go on some of the other loads, but I can tell you, loads almost continuously, and our law enforcement staff is like hard on us all the time. They're like, how much are we getting, and when can we get more?
Well, and we're able to find 9s. 9 pellets has been out there, but my experience is out with that, the difference, because remember, guys, with the 8 pellet, you've got 2, 2, 2, 2. So you got 4 stacks of 2, whereas the 9 pellet, you got 3 stacks of 3. And just for some reason, we catch an occasional 9 pellet flyer.
Yeah.
And the 9 pellet, it just does. You just get a flyer somewhere. And of course, where's that flyer going? Into a bus full of nuns and orphans. It has to. So the 8 pellet has kind of been the stuff that everybody loves. So I'm glad to hear that it's going strong.
Yeah, it's a big focus. And, as my goal as a director of Shot Shell, I get say in S&OP planning. And one of my objectives was get our law enforcement demand back order within 6 months. And so we're really, really struggling to do that. We have a little bit of ways to go, but it's a big objective for us.
A lot of people don't understand. Okay, so they're just like, well, make another line. Sure, you got $80 million. You got 9 months to do all that work and invest that kind of capital, and
and they're like, well, can you get another loader? It's like, well, we can get a loader, but can I feed it?
Right.
Can I feed it? I got to make
projectiles?
heads. I got to assemble holes. I got to get primers in there.
Right.
Can I get enough buckshot? Can I get enough wads of some injection molder somewhere else? So, yeah, a lot goes into it. We make a lot of ammo. But
reminder: this is why I don't want to get into the manufacturing business. Right? I'm stoked for this though. I think for somebody again who 12 gauge recoil is a lot. Of course, push pull helps with that, but But man, a lighter recoiling gun that you still get excellent penetration, really great for, I could see, you know, a real petite single mom, you know, that needs a shotgun for home defense, an elderly couple, you know, tons of use cases like that. I love 20 gauge flight control. So when are we going to see this on the market?
We will probably start shipping around April timeframe. So that's what we're trending for right now. So we're wrapping up most of our development now, and now it's just all the steps that we take to get it through the manufacturing process.
Get
so
it there.
I think our testing's done though, and we're pretty happy with it.
Very cool, man. Thanks for
All right,
introducing
you bet,
it to us.
man.